Hey everybody, FoxyDits here, this time with a tutorial for the fastest known Chapter 8 skip method to date. Let's dive right in. For new game, we'll be using Reno's EM mines in the second phase of his fight to get Cloud as low HP as possible, setting up for an infinite flee glitch later. In New Game Plus, this step is not necessary since you'll have self-destruct to get Cloud low on health. Once Cloud is in the red, end the fight and continue chapter as intended. Here, we're skipping ahead and we've just killed the single hedgehog pie and are heading into the shed where the hedgehog pie and rats fight is. Your goal will be to get Cloud killed as quickly as possible here, then damage Aerith down to as low HP as possible. The faster you get Cloud killed, the less likely Aerith will go full ham and kill all the rats. We want all the enemies kept alive for later. When you flee from combat here, both characters should be very low HP. Next, we run to the gate that leads to the train station. Go ahead and equip your revival earrings on Cloud here. Now, without stopping, run Cloud into the crawl space, and immediately as he enters into it, hold backwards so he doesn't go fully through and instead comes right back out. If done correctly, Aerith will get tricked into staying on the other side of the gate. Then open the item menu and set up for Aerith to use potions on Cloud. Hold L1 for multi-use, then start spamming potions and running with Cloud, making sure to click L3 so you can sprint while in the menu. Aerith will stay stuck on the other side of the gate using potions. Our goal is to enter combat as Aerith starts coming back through the gate crawl space. I'll show you this again. Done optimally, you'll use 5 potions and won't have to stop after the 5th. However, if you use a 6th potion or just don't want to bother counting, all you need to do is when you get down to this area at the shed entrance, is wait 1 second after this potion label disappears off the side of your screen. Then you can enter combat knowing she's walking through the gate. So immediately take control of Aerith and have her die pressing up against the right side of this piece of wreckage on the ground. Once she's dead, we'll have Cloud die also, thus activating the infinite flee glitch, which lets us stay in combat indefinitely. Now, I'm on New Game Plus, so instead of letting the rats and hedgehog pie kill me, I'm going to use self-destruct here. Okay, now that we have infinite flee, we're going to take Cloud down to the church, making sure you have at least 1 ATB to use by the time you get there. Now, caveat. About 1 in every 15 tries, the church doors will be closed due to some map loading glitch. If this is the case, you can revive Aerith while standing at the bottom of the entrance steps, switch to Aerith, run her into fleeing, then switch back to Cloud, and continue. But normally, as the skip should go, once you're in the church, revive Aerith about halfway in, and then run to the flowers. Switch to Aerith and immediately run her forwards into out-of-bounds territory, curving back towards the shed. Here we drop down inside the pipe and turn almost completely around, then run Aerith underneath the map, heading towards the train station. That all happened really fast, so I'm going to break it down for you again momentarily. But first, let's look to see what happens if you get a tutorial for Aerith when you switch back to her or miss getting out of bounds the first time. So, again, we revive Aerith. We run to the flowers to allow her stand-up animation to finish, switched her, and oops, we didn't make it out of bounds in time. No problem. All we need to do is wait for the map to reload back in, and then run Aerith a few steps up the road until we see fleeing. Now do a swap to Cloud and back to Aerith as quickly as possible, which will give you another chance at getting her out of bounds. Now be aware, if you accidentally run backwards towards the train station direction, before dropping down into the shed, Aerith will have the property of infinite staircase, and it could ruin the skip. Dropping down into the shed is vitally important. Now we're running back towards the train station, and we should see all the construction equipment loaded in if you got the angle right. Let's take another moment to look at a map of this process. So here we see the overhead view of this area with the shed marked. This spot marks where Aerith dies and uses a map deload to get out of bounds. Once out of bounds, she curves around the back into the shed and drops down inside the pipe. And from there, turns almost all the way around and runs through the train station. We'll look at it one more time and then continue on with the skip. One thing to note, if Aerith just jitters back and forth when trying to get out of bounds here, it means your Nullspace Disable glitch timing was off. That was what we did earlier on with the potion spam and keeping Aerith behind the gate, where we warped her into combat as she was crawling through. That process is important because it makes it so we can freely run out of bounds, like as you see here. Now I'm going to speed things up as we go along. You should see Sector 5 pop into existence if you're passing underneath the station. And we're going to head towards the left side of what's loaded in. As we approach, more of the map will load in. We'll see Shadow Aerith momentarily. And so now we're going to be passing over Sector 5 slums. We need to pass through the Chapter 8/Chapter 9 barrier, which is located just after this Chocobo station here, because that will trigger a line of dialogue that allows you to get the Perry materia from Chadley in Wall Market momentarily, and that's pretty important for future skips. So as we pass right through that area, we'll hear Aerith's titular line, and immediately upon hearing that, we can go ahead and beeline straight towards that row of lights, which you should recognize as Wall Market. Because we're still airwalking, nothing else will be preventing us from just being able to walk in a straight line towards Wall Market. So I'm going to speed through this section here. It's quite a pretty journey. Passing over the Honeybee Inn now. And we're going to try and reconnect with the ground at the entrance to Don Corneo's mansion. Now when we do that, we'll be triggering a little cutscene that will save a few seconds later when we would normally trip that. Since we're in combat, we can just run through. We're going to immediately head back downstairs and get to this little moment here, right next to the ammo on the street, the gun on the street. And we're going to swap to Cloud, back to Aerith, and deload the map again. Push right through and pass underneath the sleeping man. Run a little bit past him, and on SSD the map should be loading in already, but since I'm on HDD it takes a moment. And you will see the lanterns load in, and we can drop down onto them. This is the U-turn spot that we're also familiar with old versions of the Chapter 8 skip, but you can just continue on without even letting the map visually load in and go end combat.
You jittery?
Cloud will warp back over to us, and the chapter will continue as intended. Talk to Chocobo Sam, and that's that. We skipped Chapter 8 and a little bit of Chapter 9. All right, thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Should be the fastest method possible. Hopefully, we keep discovering more, but for now, this is the best we got. So take care, ask me any questions in comments, and see you all later.